McLaughlin Levrone breaks championship record to take 400-meter title in Tokyo, be it over hurdles or on the flat. Sydney McLaughlin Levrone proved once again she is irrepressible over one lap of the track. The U.S. athlete broke a 42-year-old championship record with the second fastest 400m of all time at the World Athletics Championships Tokyo 25 to win gold on Thursday 18. But it proved far from the time trial some might have anticipated, as Olympic champion Meryl DiPaolino made her rival work for the win. In doing so, for the first time in history, two women dipped under 48 seconds in a single 400-meter race. When McLaughlin Levrone made the switch to the flat this season, she talked about stepping out of her comfort zone, but she has looked at ease throughout the season in her new event. And the final was no different. Her time of 47.78, a North American record, suggests it is now only a matter of time before Marita Koch's 40-year-old record, 47.60, tumbles unless the 26-year-old opts to switch back to the hurdles, where she is a two-time Olympic champion. McLaughlin Levrone admitted she was aware of those doubting her decision to have made the switch in the wake of the Paris Olympics. I knew there were a lot of people doubting me with making the switch from 400-meter hurdles to the flat 400m, but ultimately, I had faith in my training. I knew I had it in me, she said. It definitely helped having Meryl DiPaolino in the outer lane, where I could see her. But I still had to get the work done. My coach told me to get out of the blocks as fast as possible, not to stay in it for long. Of her event future after these championships, she said, "We will need to talk about the schedule for the Los Angeles 2028 Olympic Games. Maybe I could do both 400m and 400-meter hurdles. I would need some days off between those events, and there's a tough field in both events." Starting in lane 5, she nervously bounced off one foot to another as she waited to take her marks, while her husband Andre, a former NFL player, looked ill at ease watching from the stands. On a much cooler night in Tokyo, after the evening rain broke the humidity of the past few days, McLaughlin Levrone was quickly up on Amber Anning in the late outsider, and heading into the home straight. She had the lead and looked set to stretch that advantage to the finishing line. But Paolino was not to be deterred by her opponent's reputation as one of the greatest athletes of her generation, arguably in a similar bracket to Mondo Duplantis and Faith Kipyegon, who had shown in their respective events on previous nights in Tokyo. The Dominican athlete pushed until her last stride, but could not claw back the deficit as she herself clocked what is the third quickest time in history. Bahrain Sulwaid Nazer, meanwhile, set a season's best with a 48.19 for the bronze. But McLaughlin Levrone, racing on the track where she won Olympic gold in the 400-meter hurdles in 2021 in a world record time, was just too good, having broken Sonia Richards-Ross's U.S. record on her way to the final before lowering Jarmila Kratochvilova's championship best from Helsinki in 1983 by 0.2 of a second. The question now is, what lies in store for her in 2026? In the long term, her eyes are on a home Olympics in Los Angeles in 2028. She has previously made it clear she might yet return to hurdling once more with Femke Bol, having admitted she missed having her as a benchmark to compete against in the discipline. McLaughlin Levrone had made a foray into the 400m flat before back in 2023, but injury prevented her from competing at the World Championships that year. On the evidence of this performance, a fourth world title in a third different event, and the fact another world record is now in touching distance, will surely tempt her to stay with her new event. By the time the sun rose over Tokyo on August 4th, 2021, the air already buzzed with something electric. You could feel it in the lanes. The hush of the empty stadium didn't matter, because one woman was about to make history. Chapter 1. The Calm Before the Roar. The Tokyo Olympic Stadium, stripped of its roaring crowd due to the pandemic, felt eerily silent. But in that silence was pressure, an immense, invisible weight, the kind that only champions feel when the whole world is watching without saying a word. Sydney McLaughlin Levrone stood at the starting blocks of the 400-meter hurdles final, an event as brutal as it is beautiful. You sprint, you hurdle, you endure. Every second counts, every step matters, every breath burns. The 21-year-old from Dunellen, New Jersey, tightened her stance. She looked ahead, not at her competitors, not even at the 10 hurdles, waiting like soldiers across the battlefield, but at her destiny. Beside her was Dalilah Muhammad, the defending Olympic champion and world record holder at the time. A veteran, a rival, a teammate. But today, there was no room for friendship, only fire. Chapter 2. The Making of a Legend. Sydney's journey to this moment wasn't easy. No great athlete's ever is. She'd been marked as a prodigy from a young age, breaking records in high school and turning professional before she could even legally drink. But expectations can be a double-edged sword. They can drive you or destroy you. After placing second to Muhammad at the 2019 World Championships, Sydney disappeared for a while, not from the sport, but into herself. She made bold choices, switched coaches, joined forces with Bobby Kersee, the mastermind behind legends like Jackie Joyner-Kersee and Florence Griffith Joyner. She trained harder, smarter, louder in silence. By June 2021, she shattered the world record at the U.S. Olympic trials, becoming the first woman in history to run the 400-meter hurdles in under 52 seconds, 51.90. But even that wasn't enough, not for her. The fire in her hadn't peaked yet. Tokyo was the crucible. Chapter 3. Set. The stadium announcer's voice echoed. Athletes, on your marks. Sydney sank into her blocks. In lane 4. Her lane. Her battlefield. Her heartbeat wasn't racing. No, it was steady. Controlled. She wasn't nervous. She was ready. Behind the starting line, her entire journey unfolded like a movie reel. Every early morning practice, every aching muscle, every doubt, every victory. A quick glance to the left. Dalilah Muhammad, the champion, the wall she had chased for years. And then silence, the kind that settles just before lightning strikes. Chapter 4. The Run of a Lifetime. Bang! The gun fired, and they were off. Sydney didn't explode out of the blocks. She unfolded, gracefully, powerfully. Like a poem in motion. Dalilah surged early, setting a blistering pace. Her stride was rhythmic, aggressive. She was daring the world to catch her. For a moment, it seemed she might run away with it again. But Sydney wasn't chasing this time. She was composing. Her strides were long, but light. Controlled chaos. Her arms sliced through the air with precision. Her eyes never wavered. Every hurdle was a whisper beneath her feet. By the 200m mark, the two were neck and neck. The race was now a chess match played at 20 miles per hour. Coming into the final curve, Dalilah still led. Just barely. But you could sense it. Sydney had one more gear. She always did. Off the final turn, she unleashed it.